Hello, and welcome to a LØRN conversation. My name is Silvija, and my guest today is Kjetil Ebbesberg, who is CFO at DNV, the Norske Veritas. Welcome, Kjetil.
Thank you, Silvija.
So I'll just say a few words about the series so people know what they're listening to, and then we'll jump into our conversation. So this is a series of 6 conversations with people from DNV that is going to be used as background listening or viewing or reading at a course delivered by NHH about sustainability and business. And what we're trying to do is actually look for concrete examples of projects that exemplify this. Good business is also good sustainability, especially now after Corona and in the year 2021. Something really exciting is happening on the business of sustainability. And I have actually chosen to have all the 6 conversations with colleagues from DNV, where I see both very interesting technical projects, technology-related projects in energy, oil and gas, shipping, business assurance, and now applied to areas like health and food that combine sustainability with technology in a really inspiring way. But also because the whole strategy of DNV is circling around this concept of long-term strategy and sustainability, both for the company, the environment, and the planet. And it's your role now to show us a little bit more about how finance people can think about this in a way that makes sense both for current business and for future business. Okay?
Okay, we'll do my best.
Excellent. So my first question is always, Kjetil, basically, who are you and what has made you so? Who personal profile in 2 minutes.
Yeah, well, I'm a simple boy from the country, the countryside. I'm 49 years old, grew up in a small community called Notodden in Norway, which was an industrial small town, where I quickly learned sort of the importance of industry in building up a country like Norway. Hydro was born at that small town. And therefore also I joined Hydro as my first employer, and I've been with Hydro for more than 20 years in different roles. After sort of finishing my basic education, I joined the Norges Handelshøyskole, NHH, the Norwegian School of Economics in Bergen, where I took my degree in business economics. And that was sort of the platform for me then eventually ending up with DNV now, where I have been for little more than 1 year as a group CFO. My background is with Hydro is really sort of 50% in finance and 50% in operational line management roles, where I also spent 8 years in corporate management board in different roles. Personally, I'm married, with a wife and 2 kids, a son of 22 and a daughter of 18. And I've been living several places abroad and many places in Norway. So I have a broad and interesting personal and professional background, I would say.
Kjetil, I have to ask you about Hydro. So you guys were the company that managed to make aluminium sexy. But it has a very strong, renewable profile as well. Just say 2 words about this company.
Yes, well, Hydro was born, based on Norway's energy resources. So it's really about the hydropower in Norway, which first of all were created, produced fertilizer in a new advanced technology at that time. Which has later developed, evolved, obviously. Then Hydro has really started many of the today's important industries in Norway, where Hydro was a pioneer, including the oil and gas business and also the light metals and aluminium business. So in recent years, Hydro has sort of gone from a very diversified portfolio to become a very focused energy and aluminium company. And the story around aluminium is quite simple. It's a very light material which in the right applications can save a lot of emissions, for instance, when building cars in aluminium. It is a very recyclable material which never loses its properties. It doesn't corrode the same way as steel, for instance, and it has very strong properties in terms of strength and shock absorption and so on. So it makes it very usable in many such applications as automotive. And it is, during the recycling, it is only consuming 5% of the energy that you need to produce aluminium as a primary from a mineral of bauxite. So it is extremely energy efficient in the terms of recyclability and reuse. But of course, the disadvantage with aluminium is that you need a lot of energy to produce it the first time. So there, Hydro has an advantage because all the energy that is used to produce aluminium out of Norway is based on renewable energy. And therefore, also the Hydro-produced aluminium is has a very competitive footprint on CO2 compared to the average or the worst sources around the world.
That's a really interesting, I think, background that Norwegians are perhaps not appreciating enough. The fact that Hydro as a company has used our kind of heavy tech experience and some unique natural resources to create several new industries, but that are also very, very important in terms of all these new sustainability goals that we are discussing. Fertilizers have another aspect, but super important for feeding the world.
Exactly. And I think the next wave now could be in the battery technology, where I think Norway has a lot of processing competence in place. We have, again, very clean energy, and battery production is energy intensive. And I think there are many reasons why battery production is in a natural environment within Norway. And for sure, the need for batteries are going to increase significantly in the future, and Europe needs to have production capacity inside Europe. I don't think that European producers of applications that require batteries will be happy to be dependent on other regions in the world for its critical components like batteries.
So going from one company that works a lot with tech and sustainability, which is Hydro, to DNV, which also kind of has its strength from a Norwegian historical advantage, which is in this case the sea, and then going from everything maritime to energy, oil and gas, which as well in Norway is very maritime. And now digital. So I mean, you're a relatively recent hire, a new CFO, about a year, I think, year and a half now. So why did you choose DNV, Kjetil?
Well, I need to work for an employer who has a strong integrity, who has a strong set of values, and where there is competence in the platform of the company. I think in many ways, as you indicate, there is a strong similarity between Hydro and DNV in that respect. So I really found similarities, which was a foundation for me in further developing myself and my professional career. And that was sort of the starting point for me. And then once I got to learn and know the company a little bit from the inside, spoke with the CEO and got the feeling for how things really were done in DNV, my admiration of the company just increased. And it was easy for me to sort of accept being invited in here. And after being here for a little more than 1 year, I'm really happy about my choice. It is really a good company. It's a strong company. It's really a future-oriented company, which has developed over many years, a position which I think is a platform for taking care of our purpose, in a new world. with all the transition going on the digital technology, transitions on energy, I think it's at the core of what DNV is equipped and capable of resolving and helping our customers and tackle their transformations in this field.
Yeah. So a very cool company. And what I think is that you're also a very cool finance guy. Because I think I think very often I still find the finance world kind of divided. There are still people who believe that their job, whether they are a stockbroker or a CFO, or is simply to optimize the top and the bottom line. And anything they don't do to just optimize that is, a neglect of their duty to their shareholders. And then I think there are other people who are able to think about the triple bottom line as a part of their duty, both to the company, to themselves, and to the world. And, when you talk about the cost advantages of creating aluminium in Norway, or by, digital inspections of ships, I think you think about more than one dimension. It's not just financial. And I'd like you to kind of explain a little bit about how this works related to all the, things you've been trained to do, which I think are very one-dimensional financial.
Yeah, I think that as CFOs, we need to take care of business long term, and I think we need to really understand what are the long term drivers impacting the companies. And for us, as it was for Hydro, as in DNV, really we are in the midst of a lot of transformations, and we take active roles in that. And by doing that, first of all, we are living our purpose, which has been the same purpose more or less for more than 150 years. Since 1864, when the company was established, it's been to safeguard life, property, and environment. And that is the reason for us to exist. And we are, as a commercial organization, of course, we also need to take care of our bottom line and therefore also our top line. But I think that by understanding our purpose and how we actually make a difference, how we can be something to our customers, where customers prefer to work with us as opposed to working with others, we can really also serve our bottom line and the commercial aspects of the organization. So that is, to me, a very clear cut. It's not only about being a good citizen, although to me personally, and I think to all employees in DNV, that is also a very important aspect. We need to do what is right, but we also need to do what is right in a way which serves the purpose of the company long term.
And this has to do with strategic work as well. I don't know if you could say a few words about how does DNV incorporate this into their strategy?
Yeah. So obviously then our strategy will always be founded in what we believe about the future. What will be the development around us, which we don't have any control over, and how are we adapting to those developments in a way where we take positions to the better for, obviously, then society, but also to the better for our customers and to the better for the company. We have recently had a process and launched our next 5-year strategy, which has really been based on understanding the different segments we are operating in. And what are the key influential drivers within those segments?
Sorry,
what
Kjetil,
does that mean to us?
You're being very professor-like now, so I have to simplify this a little bit. So DNV is working in segments like shipping or energy or oil and gas, which is now a part of energy. Help me, business systems.
Business assurance, where we are offering certification of management systems in one part, but also supply chains of product assurance within many different industries. And we also are operating in a software house where we have 1,000 employees basically just working on developing and supporting customers with software solutions that we are selling. And we also have established a new business area, which we have called Accelerator, where we have placed sort of the, call it embryos in our organization, which we intend to grow strongly, where we want to build the future legs of the future DNV, which basically is relating to health and digital health assurance. We think there is a massive growth potential in health, and there is a significant role for us to play in that space, not only Norway and Nordics, but globally, and also in the cybersecurity area, which is based upon our technical knowledge and our knowledge about operational systems, and also information systems supporting our customers within maritime, energy, and the other industries that we are operating in. So to sort of make it a little bit less professor-like, then in our energy area, we have now grouped together the renewable part and the sort of traditional oil and gas part into a new business area, which in combination shall enable our customers to tackle the transition into the future energy systems. So it's not about either or, it's about how to bring the world from where we are today to the future, where we need to be, less and less, and eventually zero carbon based. But this is not happening overnight, and we need to sort of enable this transition to be fast. It's about verifying new technologies, whether it's the wind technology or solar technology, but also hydrogen and other more advanced and less mature technologies, and put that into a system which is sustainable, which is enabling ultimately the world to get secure, safe, and sustainable and affordable energy in the future.
So what I want us to kind of go into is DNV is a big company, 12, 13,000 employees, 100 countries in the world, lots of cultures, lots of different perspectives on very deep tech skills and markets. And what really excites me is that I have the impression, Kjetil, that DNV is taking a systemic view on many of these areas of development. So when you talk about energy, it's not just, okay, here's battery, here's hydrogen, here is floating wind and floating sun, see what you can do with it and how you can make money on it. But it's more like, how do the value chains look like in the future? How can we optimize the markets? How can we help people actually sell or buy this new clean kind of energy? And it's the systemic platform, business platform view, which seems to be super interesting. That's my first half. And the second half is the assurance bit, where DNV is now in a position to define what good looks like, basically explaining what this should be like and what it perhaps even should be regulated as, because nobody knows. And we need to help people who are developing policies and laws and basically national growth plans to understand what the future growth, what the next looks like. And it's that kind of systemic and future-oriented development that I find very fascinating, not related to one technology, but whole areas of technology, but super difficult to predict and to manage financially.
Exactly, and there are many variables, and many of those variables we don't have a clear answer to today. We know approximately what the world needs in terms of clean energy, but also in terms of we need energy for a purpose, and the purpose of that energy should serve, that a future energy system must be able to serve the purpose of the need of the energy. So and then how to do that in a way where you are delivering on both expectations or requirements. And ultimately, it needs to be done, financially, economically viable also. And it is about understanding how these different elements play together in a way where we can deliver solutions which serves the needs of the future. And there's significant differences between, the stationary needs and the mobile needs. And there are differences between needs in the different parts of the world, and for different industries there are different needs, and all these things needs to sort of be put into together in a system which ensures both the sources of energy but also the supply, the delivery system, the grids, the optimization tools to make sure that this is also economically viable for the users, for the providers of the energy, and for the society as a whole. And then there will always be a role for regulators also to come in and to facilitate either on a permanent basis or at least on a transition basis, where there is need to have some sort of oil in the machinery to have new solutions come to birth and get the grip in a way. So
I think it's so interesting as well that you already talk about this. I'm going back to this idea of the triple bottom line, basically people, planet, profits in some order. But you're also planning on making money in new ways. And I sit on a few other boards where the board is very much unhappy with any business proposal that involves this so-called ARR, the annual recurring revenue, to the point where the people who are experienced investors say, this seems like a casino game to me, because it's very much based on optimism and a vision of a future where, money is made based on these platforms, and we don't know when the customers are coming or the users, but we know they're coming, etc. But you seem to be able to make both. You make money the traditional way, and you plan to make money this platform. I just want you to talk a little bit about this old business and new business, and how do you manage both from one and the same company?
Yeah, DNV consists of 12,000 very smart, highly competent people. And we could sort of sell the services of those people by, selling hour by hour. So they apply their services, by direct advice. But if we can bring this competence into a system where we actually can provide a much broader use of this competence, applying this competence without having to sort of spend every hour together with the customer, obviously then we are delinking the value of our services from the hours spent serving the customer in a way. And by putting this into software, putting it into systems where we can continuously deliver services and continuously utilize our competence to the better of the customer, I think there is a scalability in all the competence of our 12,000 employees, which is to the benefit of obviously the customers, but and DNV and society as a whole. And I think that is sort of what you're referring to in terms of understanding how to scale up our inventions, our knowledge in a way where we are getting more sort of recurring revenues without selling hour by hour. And there are many companies who have been, in the forefront of developing new business models. There are lots of talks about, the high techs and the Silicon Valley. I think we have a lot to learn from them, and I think that we can, do a lot of the services we are offering today. We could offer in a different way tomorrow, where we would use a lot less resources to provide the same value to the customer, or provide much more value to the customer by doing it and thinking smarter in the way we are actually delivering the services.
So it's going from being very much service-based to being productifying that service in a digital framework, and but also developing the customers so they are willing to buy the digital alternatives. I don't know if you can talk a little bit about that. For example, we have created the digital ship inspection product. And how's the transfer from the physical to the digital, and where does it work best?
No, I think when we are doing our job remotely, we can deploy the competence, in much more real time. We can be available at much faster, without necessarily scheduling, you know, in long time in advance, like we have to when we are needed to be physically present. And by having advanced tools, we could perform such surveys in an equally or even better way by being able to be, you know, have the benefit of being physically present with the right tools and being available with the competence at the right time in full. So I think there is additional value to the customer from that. And basically, it will take time until we can replace physical presence altogether. I think that will take time because we are talking about people and, you know, relationships between people. But for me, it boils down to trust. And as a company, we are 100% dependent on trust from our customers. When they trust us, when they trust our tools, we can do a lot more of sort of the traditional work and services in new ways, in remote ways.
I think, as you said, there is the access to a broader team, more cross-functional, and it's more timely, perhaps, and it allows you to use also all the new tools of machine learning and data-rich analysis, etc. But customers still need to be convinced that this is a better service. Do you think that the last 12 months and Corona have had a helping hand there?
I think we have been forced to think new ways during this last year, and I think we have surprised ourselves. I think customers have surprised themselves. The whole world has been really a little bit sort of positively surprised by how well we can manage without being physically present. And I think that has been an excellent sort of kickoff to a further development in this area. I think there's lots of savings opportunities, not only sort of cost-wise, but also for the planet, by not having to be physically available and traveling around and wasting so much time, valuable resources, spending time on the road or in the air from one point to another point in the world, where we can be equally, you know, or even better accessible by not traveling. So, and I think that as such, the pandemic has been, I wouldn't say a lifesaver, but that really has triggered a lot of understanding of how actually we can operate globally without physical presence.
So, Kjetil, we've also been talking about sustainability, but in a perhaps different color than what people expect when they hear the word sustainability. So people talk about sustainability and think about climate and nature diversity and carbon capture and clean waters. And I describe that as the green sustainability. And then there is the red sustainability, which I think is all about society and anti-polarization and equality and fairness. And then there is the blue sustainability, which is about economics and the necessary innovations, you know, for the future. And we've talked most about that kind here. I still want to hear you a little bit on the red sustainability, because once you manage to convince people that, let's say, there is a real transition happening in their field of work, and there are new tools that they simply have to start using and new services that they simply have to start delivering, or in spaces like energy, you know, where there is this really quite sudden transition, I think, for an oil-driven country like Norway to renewable. People are scared and worried. They're worried about their future jobs. They're worried about their or their company's identity. How do we manage that?
I think it's a very interesting question, Silvija, and it's a huge task to embark on. I think throughout history we have changed, but we have changed at a speed which is, you know, much slower. Although the first industrial revolution was maybe felt like a high-speed revolution or change at the time, but you know the speed of things now is meaning that changes happen faster than people are able to sort of readapt or adapt to it in a way. And the transfer of values, are posing a real threat to stability, to fair share of value creation among individuals. I think the world is moving towards more and more people having better lives, but also there is a risk that more and more there will be an inequality among people, and I think we definitely see that now in the western part of the world happening fast. So that is a challenge, not necessarily to the financial stability as much as it is to the stability of social, economic, and political stability, which all hangs together ultimately, and that needs to be we need to find solutions to that. But if you think big, I mean, we have enough renewable energy to go around for the whole world to have a good life. We just have to capture it in a way which enables us to utilize that. But it's not only about energy, it's about also a good life in terms of having people finding purpose in life and sharing the values of our natural resources and so on. So there are many aspects here, political aspects and financial, social, economic aspects that needs to be played hand in hand.
And I think finding that purpose is going to be a very important part of what we are doing with lifelong learning, because I think it's really important that everybody feels invited into this exciting future, and it will entail a lot of learning. And yes, we need to start enjoying it, or we need to convince each other to enjoy that. And that brings me actually to your education, Kjetil. So you're an economist through and through, from what I can understand. And the models that you've learned at the Norwegian School of Economics, I think, might not work 100% at least for this new economy we're going into, which is why I brought in this whole idea of annual recurring revenue and exponential growth and digitally driven economies. So I would like to ask you, how should your fellow CFOs and other financial managers think about sustainability, but also about digital future?
Yeah, I think, as you say, my background is in finance, but half my career I've been working in operations. So I think that is an advice I would give to other CFOs, to seek, other experiences beyond sort of the pure financial line, and be open and be curious about, how things are, connected in a company, but also in society, and to be curious about what the future might bring. And none of us can tell for certain how it's going to be like, but I think we need to be open and flexible to adjust to whatever the future will bring. And I think the better we are in sort of understanding that, and the better we are in having the adaptability embedded in ourselves and in the organization, the better we could utilize opportunities that arise and avoid falling into the pitfalls of risks. So if I should give advice to my fellow CFOs, it would be exactly that. Don't be stuck on sort of the traditional ways, but be open, listening to new ideas, new perspectives, and there are so many good people who can give us as CFOs a better understanding of the world, and we need to embrace that and foster such sort of open communication and learning in the organizations.
If I'm to expand that, I asked you what you believe are the necessary future skills, and I really am impressed, Kjetil, by how you, but actually the whole of the DNV organization, believes in this cross-functional future. So you might be a super established CFO with all the financial background you might need, but you still feel that you need to learn about technology, about digitalization, about the business of sustainability, etc. So how does one get going with this cross-functional way of learning?
It's a good question. It boils down to how you as an individual seek experience. Obviously, then it's a matter of how the company are, putting that on their agenda and how important that is. But I think individually also, I learn a lot from my kids. They are much younger than me and much more skilled in areas where I need to learn through others in a way how things are working. And they make fun of me from time to time, and that's okay. It's part of the learning that you are stepping into areas where things are, unknown, and that's what brings you then learning ultimately. So I think to be humble and curious, that's the way to go about it. And as a company, we need to facilitate that. I think DNV has been excellent in how it has placed digitalization and digital development of digital skills among its employees. And I'm not only talking about the few that needs to, execute that, but really all employees need to raise its competence in this area. I think that is really important. That's what we can do as a company, and then individuals need to sort of jump onto that and be curious and be willing to learn. And this goes fast.
When it comes to incentivizing the organization to do more of what's good, so some of this stuff that we talk about, developing services that are building the sustainability of the world, etc., whether it's transition to untested energy, not necessarily untested, but basically, let's say we're working with energy sources and energy models that are still not as efficient at scale, as profitable at scale as the established old stuff. How does a CFO or the even the regulator create the will to start doing the new stuff, even though the old stuff is more profitable?
Yeah. It's a good question. It's very tempting to always sort of optimize short term on what you have at hand. I think the only answer to that is you need to be willing to sacrifice to get long-term value. And then it's a question of understanding enough what you are sacrificing and what you're getting in return. And no sort of big revolutions or changes has come without taking risks. I think we need to be willing to take risks. And it's really the sum of the knowledge we have as an organization who can bring forward the basis for making the right decision in this area. And that's why I think as a CFO, I'm a very limited in my experience, in my knowledge base compared to the 12,000 employees we have in DNV. But together we are possessing a lot of the leading knowledge in our fields. So I'm sure if we have the right processes, we will come forward with the basis for making the right decisions longer term. And then it's a question of being close with the board, so that when we make decisions which may have a negative impact short term, we bring along the board to see and back up that this makes sense longer term.
Kjetil, you talk about something that I think is perhaps one of the hardest concepts to communicate, but also the most important, and it's the courage of long term. You have to be a big optimist, but also to have a lot of confidence, to be able to believe that you'll be still there in that job 10, maybe 20 years from today, and be able to manage this process for long enough and still understand both the goals and that it's a very big pedagogical task, and it's a very big strategic task. And I think it shows also the value of this continuity in companies, in politics, because if you're only thinking 4 years at a time, it's really difficult to have this courage of long term. So how do we create more room for long-termism?
Another good question. I'm lucky enough now to be part of a company which is owned by a foundation, and the foundation has only long-term view. We are a commercial organization, and we need to, make commercial sense. We need to build financial strength for us to be able to live our purpose long term. But we don't have the sort of pressure from the stock market, which potentially could tempt you to make shorter term, decisions on what you choose to do. But I've been working most of my career in a stock listed company, still with a very long term view. And I've been looking at, and experiencing from role models. I mean, the founders of Norsk Hydro were really, thinking big in a small country, was really taking a risk, huge risk, and that has been sort of a part of the DNA for the company. So I think that is part of what we need to do also here to have role models to lean on and to dare to think, longer term whenever there is forces around us who want us to think shorter term in a way. So yeah.
Very good. So towards the end of our conversation, Kjetil, I'm actually going to refer to your recommended literature. And I don't even know if they're albums or if they're books. So you have to tell me a little bit about what. So Bruce Springsteen, Born to Run, and Robert Iger, The Ride of a Lifetime. What are they?
No, it was simple enough. I got a question from you, and I listed two of the more recent books I've read. Of course, I could choose a lot of other books, but to keep it short, Bruce Springsteen has written his biography. I like rock music. That's part of my sort of favorite things to do on my free time, is to go to rock concert and to listen to music together with good friends who share the same music. I've been to many Bruce Springsteen concerts. I like his music. I come from a small town, an industrial town, like he's singing about, so I can easily identify with his sort of lyrics. But even more so, I think he's a good person. He's a complex person. He has been very open in his book about his sort of struggles. And so I think he is a good role model for many people in terms of how to live lives and how to deal with dilemmas. And I think from a political point of view, he has had a massive influence in terms of speaking against those I believe in the US who have been leading the country in the wrong direction, coming back again to what we have spoken about. So he is very close to Barack Obama, president, which I rate very high, and he's really been a voice for good in the US democracy in a way. So that's sort of the person I like, and I like reading his book and listening to his music. And the other book I mentioned is Robert Iger. He was the previous CEO of Disney Corporation for many years. He has sort of written a book where he explores his time with Disney through all the changes that Disney has gone through. They have been sort of in the middle of a digital revolution within the entertainment business, and I really enjoyed reading that book from a business point of view, understanding how one person at the top of an organization can make a big difference in choosing the right strategies and choosing how to implement the strategies. And making a difference, and also all the personal struggles, all the dilemmas he was faced with, all the failures he went through as a leader. Very inspiring from a professional point of view.
Very cool. I think I know what I'll add to my Audible list now. Kjetil, thank you so much for spending your time with us here. It was very inspirational and very educational.
Thank you, Silvia. Thanks for listening to me.